you know, I'm doing great. It's fine. It's awesome. We're doing a really good job here. I'm back, and I don't wanna be all by myself, but I am. So let's just get into the video, shall we? No, I'm all by myself because Noelle couldn't make it, which is fine. But I'm going to be talking about. That was great. That was really good. Wow. I'm going to be talking about an Ouija board and how to play one, background, things like that. Which you'll understand why at the end of the video, so keep watching. Anyway, so an Ouija board, also known as a spirit board or a talking board. I keep looking over here because my notes are over here. Anyway, so an Ouija board is marked with the alphabet, obviously, numbers 1 to 9 and then a 0 on the end, yes and no and goodbye. I'm sure most of you have seen one, but if you haven't, I'll put a picture. I'm sure most of you have seen one, but if you haven't, I'll put a picture over here. And they come with a planchette. The board is used to contact spirits. Duh.
Now, I'm going to play around.
To begin the game, you need to circle around the board 3 times and then ask if anything is willing to talk to you. Once you get an answer, you can begin the game. You go on asking a bunch of questions. Whenever you've run out of questions, you move the planchette to goodbye and say goodbye at the same time. Obviously. I would never play with an Ouija board. I've heard way too many stories. I've watched way too many YouTube videos. There's no way ever I could play with an Ouija board. Do not taunt the spirits or the ghosts that you're contacting. That makes them mad, obviously. Never ask when you're going to die or how the spirits that you're talking to have died. That also makes them mad. Playing alone is a really bad idea. Do not take your fingers off the planchette. If you're playing and there's more than one person, but if you're playing and there's more than one person, you could take your fingers off, but somebody has to keep their fingers on the planchette to keep the energy still flowing throughout the air. And you always have to end a session. You're not supposed to finish playing the Ouija board and not end the session. There are malevolent spirits, which are just bad spirits or dark spirits. Now, they're very common to contact with using the board. Some signs that they are contacting you are if they count down from 0 to 1, which sounds weird, but when you look on a Ouija board, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, so 0 to 1. Another thing is if the planchette starts to move throughout the entire alphabet. And lastly, if the planchette starts making a figure 8 symbol, usually that's not good because that entails that Zozo is there. Now, Zozo is a malevolent spirit as well, commonly known as the demon of the Ouija board. He is known to gain the trust of his users by lying and impersonating someone else. And after he gains his trust is when he then goes and possesses whoever's using the board, which is not good. I wouldn't recommend. 0 out of 10 probably. The person I'm fairly close with, she was playing the Ouija board with her friend at her friend's house, which is apparently haunted. And every time they would play with the Ouija board, my friend would see like a hand in a mirror with a knife, which is very terrifying, don't get me wrong. Just the thought of playing a Ouija board makes me tear up, so I couldn't even imagine. Hashtag pussy. That's me. Anyway. Great. Anyway, one time they were playing, and she saw that, and then they finished the game, and they both looked out the window, and they saw a man with like a warped face and a huge grin, like this. Cheese and hardcore, you know. And then in his hand he had a knife. Well, they kind of gave up after a while, like trying to figure out what that was. And then they ended up going to sleep, and whenever they went to sleep, my friend had a dream of a girl running through a field from the man with the knife, which then like set her off the edge. She was so creeped out after that. They ended up contacting some people, and some people told them to put a white sheet over the Ouija board and pretend like they're capturing something or somebody. And after they did that, all of the bad things that were happening went away. The next one is experience that my mother had. Now, growing up, she was always told to not play with a Ouija board, which is what she told me, which, unlike her, I'm going to probably obey, especially after doing all the research and watching all the videos that I've watched today for this video alone. So, she and her friends bought the board. Her and her friends had bought the board. They went over to, my mom went to her friend's house, and they ended up playing the board and asking just questions, you know, like normal, like, who are you? And they got an answer, and it was Kunta Kiza or Kinta Kusa or something, which is a character or characters from the movie The Color Purple, which is a slavery movie if you didn't know, and I'll get into why that's important in a little bit. But they ended up, I'm really close now, okay. So anyway, they ended up finishing up that game, put the board away, that was the end of it. Well, at work one day, my mom's friend came in and was like, we need to get rid of the board. One of the roommates ended up the night before getting like super mad and throwing glasses and was just hysterical, locked one of the roommates out of her room, things like that, which is kind of weird to me. But like, hey, I don't know. I can't like debunk any of the stuff that happened like 20 years ago. Anyway, so the following weekend my mom went back over, and they were just kind of hanging out, I guess, and they could hear like a glass move across the coffee table, so they all turn around and there's the glass moving across the coffee table, and my mom was like super creeped out. And that same night, one of the roommates came home, and they have to walk up the stairs, so he walks up the stairs, gets in the door, and then they just see him like tighten up and get pushed down the stairs by nothing, which was like kind of like the final call for my mom. She's like, I am not touching a board, I'm not playing with the board, anything like that, which I mean, I don't blame her, but that's just between us. So then, long story short, they end up doing a background check on the house, which then they find out was part of the Underground Railroads, which would make sense if maybe some former slaves were actually coming through the board. So my mom's friends ended up deciding they wanted to help the spirit, you know, move on, things like that, find peace. So the friends end up playing the board every night for the next couple weeks, trying to convince the spirit to move on. Some other things that like happened were like the jewelry of the people that played the board, like diamonds, would turn dark, like brown and black, which is kind of crazy, kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of freaked me out just hearing about it. But it'd be only after playing the game. So they end up asking again if the spirit was Kunta or Kinta, and it spelled out Satan. I'm so freaked out right now. I don't want to even be talking about this anymore. Sarah and Abby, I know you're gonna watch this. I hate you guys. Anyway, so, where was I? So it spelled out Satan, you know, everyday things. And they decided to get rid of the board. So they take it to a field, they throw it on the field because you're not allowed to burn a Ouija board. Like, you're not supposed to. That's like very bad if you burn in a Ouija board. And then a couple like days and weeks after, the doors in the house would slam, there'd be banging on walls, lights would flicker, glass would break, things like that. And that was kind of like the end of it. Everybody that lived in that house moved out. I guess they were all freaked out. I mean, I would too. If board spelled Satan to me, my ass would peace so fast. The last experience I'm going to talk about has happened to some people very close to me, Sarah and Abby. Anyway, now I can't like really get into what happened to them, but I can tell you that their stories are going to spook you. They kept hearing weird noises, and like for example, there was this dripping noise that was like clear as day, but there was nothing anywhere that could be causing it. They would play with the planchette and it wouldn't even be moving, but they would get affirmations by knocking noises and things like that. One time when they played, something smashed into like the barn that they play in, and it shook the entire compound, which is just insane. It's kind of scary. Like, to me, that's really scary. Now, I can't like really get into what happened to them, but I can tell you that their stories are going to spook you. They kept hearing weird noises, and like for example, there was this dripping noise that was like clear as day, but there was nothing anywhere that could be causing it. They would play with the planchette and it wouldn't even be moving, but they would get affirmations by knocking noises and things like that. One time when they played, something smashed into like the barn that they play in, and it shook the entire compound, which is just insane. It's kind of scary. Like, to me, that's really scary. A couple more things have happened to them, but you'll see what I mean next week. So stay tuned. Bye!